Hi, everyone. This is Lin Bouthillier from linbouthillier.com. I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, and I'd like to welcome you to another episode of my ongoing series entitled Monogamous at 13. This is special episode number 157, I believe. I might be off on that, but I'll make sure it's accurate when I post the video. So today is the first time this season in the fall when I'm making a video, once again, wearing a flannel shirt. My flannel shirts are put away for a glorious, beautiful, wonderful summer. And now it's time to have them back out again. Kind of miss those summer days, but it does not do good for me to resist, for me to push against what is. I keep reminding myself as trauma coach and as 60-year-old me, the best thing that I can do for myself is to lean into it a little bit. I've spent a huge amount of time in my life railing against what I don't want. Some people refer to it as just really, really pushing against a stone, trying to roll a boulder out of your way. Sometimes it just feels a whole lot better for us to look at the thing that we resist, the thing that we wish was not happening or about to happen, such as a change in seasons where it's no longer super warm and just fantastic outdoors. I'm a spring and summer person through and through. Fall and winter, not so keen on those things, but I've been trying to make the best of it and to find reasons to get outdoors, find ways to, like my new series, like I say in that series, catching myself feeling good. And before I begin for today's discussion, which is about when someone tells us that we're either too much or we're not enough. Well, we can be triggered when we're thinking about things like that or talking about things like that. And it's super important that we bring ourselves into a state of groundedness, anchored in groundedness, so that we can do the work of trauma recovery without being harmed or feeling unsafe. And we can feel harmed and unsafe when we get triggered. So I have my grounding tool in my hand, and I've done my grounding exercises to bring myself into a state of anchored and groundedness. And I feel that I'm ready to begin. If you don't feel that you're ready to begin, you can pause the video and come back to it. And at any time, if you begin to feel triggered, please shut off the video. Don't come back to it. Maybe it's just better left for other people to view if it's not for you. But just please go into your highest, best self-care, not just for a few minutes, but for the rest of the day. Be really, really compassionate and gentle with yourself for the remainder of the day if you find yourself being triggered by something in my video. So I've got my little holy stone. It's not my old one, it's my new one. And I love it. It works great. And I feel ready to begin. Okay, so today's topic is about when we are gaslighted, and that's what it is. That's what we're talking about. When somebody tells us that we're either not enough or we're too much, they're gaslighting us. How do I know that that's a gaslight? Because they're saying something to us that is not true. When somebody convinces us that we're not enough or that we're too much, it's a criticism. It hurts. But not all of the criticism is done by saying the words, the exact words of you are just way too much, or you're not enough, you'll never be enough, you'll never measure up, and I just want you to always, always believe that you are never enough. A lot of times that stuff is just so sneaky. A lot of times it is not said outright to us, but we hear things that mean that. And a lot of the gaslighting that we hear from people is that we are not enough and we are too much. And the same person can tell us two different versions. Sometimes it's one or the other of those statements. And some of the time when they do it, they're not saying it directly to us, they're saying it to other people. And some of us have had the experience of being the scapegoated person in our family system or in the workplace, at our place of worship, in our community, in our circle of friends. There are some people who, they're not satisfied with just us being told by them that we're not enough or we're too much. They need to enjoin other people into that so that they can feel more powerful and feel that they have far more control. Control over what? You, me, our feelings, our emotions, our self-worth, our worldview, our place in our home, in our family, in our community. They sow seeds of self-doubt. The whole point of telling us that we're not enough or we're too much is to make us think that we're just never going to measure up. That we have no hope of being as good as the other people who are maybe around us. That the person who's saying we're too much or not enough, they want those people to believe as they do. So they might triangulate, they might do smear campaigns. And sometimes the triangulation and smear happens right in front of you. Now, I'm going to use an example it's painful and it was abusive, and it was an example of what I'm speaking about. And I've used this example before, but not everybody who's watching has seen all of my videos, because there's like somewhere around 550 videos of mine on YouTube so far. But I'm going to share this with you because it will illustrate for you what I mean by when somebody enjoins other people to humiliate, embarrass, or degrade, or to devalue or embarrass, or to minimize you. Any way of invalidating you, they seem to get a rather big kick out of. And it goes without saying, but I am going to say it now. This is highly narcissistic behavior. Any person who does tell you that you are not good enough, or that you are too much, and especially if they bring other people in on it, this is highly abusive narcissistic behavior, or what we call narcissistic abuse. I've been through domestic violence and counseling, 3 separate places. Took me a couple of years to do. And the message that I received again and again is all abusers, anybody who deigns to abuse you, is narcissistic in nature. They're low on conscience, they're low on empathy, they might have no conscience or no empathy, and they might possibly have factors of several different personality disorders. This is what Dr. Roberta Shaler used to refer to as disordered behavior. Disordered behavior is people who harm other people and they don't care. And they don't do anything to check themselves. They don't do any apology. They don't do anything to repair the ruptures that they create in our lives. They do not engage in rupture and repair the way a person who is a person, which I call a big 5 individual, person of love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency, would do. Those of you who are watching this, it's highly likely that you're a big 5 individual, and that if you harm somebody in a conversation, if you misstep when you're at a gathering, or if you accidentally insult somebody at work, or even if you meant it, but your conscience takes over and you're like, oh man, I need to go clean up what I just did. I need to go to that person and take them aside and say, look, I'm just full of shame and embarrassment for what I did to you. And I just had a really, really out of control moment, and there's no excuse for it. And the way I truly feel about you is that I would never hurt you on purpose for anything in the world. I just had a moment of being, I was stupid for a moment. I did a stupid thing. I had a moment of stupidity and I did something irresponsible and I hurt you. And I know it's wrong. It's horrible. I'm naming what I did. I'm saying that I'm truly sorry for what I did. I'm giving you my word that it will not ever happen again. And I'm making amends, which means please tell me what you need from me to heal this. I am absolutely willing to do whatever it takes to help heal this wound that I caused within you. And then there's the assurance that you can take it to the bank. I will never do that to you again. I recognize that I hurt you. I recognize that it was not okay. And I value you as a human being, and I want to repair this rupture. If it's at all possible, if you can find a way to forgive me and accept me back into, your circle of friends or whatever the relationship was. But that's a person who's a big five individual. We're capable of doing that. A person who's a toxic abuser, absolutely not. A person with high narcissistic traits, not a chance. Extremely unlikely that they will be able to do that. They offer up the same exact thing every single time you encounter them. I hurt you, and you're supposed to tolerate it and never call it abuse and never even say that I hurt you. Because what am I going to respond with? I'm immediately going to respond. If I'm a highly narcissistic person, I'm going to respond with, you're either too much or you're never enough. What would those two things sound like if someone's giving you that message? Well, if you're too much, it'll sound like this. Oh my God, you're so sensitive. You are offended by everything. Your emotions are so out of control. Nobody can even stand to be near you because you are just always, always needing to be the center of attention. Oh, you're such a snowflake. If anybody says something to you, you immediately burst into tears and you go running from the room. You're such a drama queen. Oh my goodness, you are such a baby. You can't take a joke. You can't take constructive criticism. So sorry, I'll pause for a second. So with your too much, you will always be hearing criticism after criticism after criticism about how you're just way too emotional. You're way too reactive. You're way too dramatic. You are way too vocal. You are way too punitive. You are way too demanding. And it's just always just a steady stream of something's wrong with you if you don't tolerate the abuse that I do, which, by the way, is never abuse, because there's something wrong with you for thinking that it is, okay? That's when somebody's telling us that we're too much. And then when we're never enough, it goes in the direction of, you never give me what I need. You never pay attention to me. You never listen when I'm talking. You never give me what I want. You always disagree. You are unwilling to show me that you're willing to be what I demand of you. If you resist what I'm trying to get you to do, you're so problematic. If you have boundaries, you're just not enough. That means that you're not going to give me what I need. If you have autonomy, you're either too much or not enough that way, because that means. Sorry, they keep barking. I have to keep pausing. Sorry about that. So when we're not enough, we're being told we're always coming up short. You don't do the things I demand of you. You don't give me what I need. You don't feed my ego. You don't build me up as the authority in this couple. You don't build me up as the authority in this family. You don't encourage me in the awfulness that I do to everybody, which isn't awful in my opinion. And therefore you're not enough. You just are not enough. You're not earning your keep, and you're holding out on what I need, and you're damaging to me, and you're a bad person. And they want you to believe that you're weak, you're stupid, you're inept, you're worthless, you deserve withholding of anything good, and that you are problematic, and that whatever happens most likely is going to be seen as your fault. You were the person responsible for it, not them. So they don't always just use, as I said a little bit earlier, they don't always just look at you and say, you're too much or you are never enough. That's not the language that they use. They can do that, but it doesn't normally sound like that. What it sounds like is when they use a lot of superlatives in their language, the always, never, constantly, like you're constantly criticizing me, or you never give me what I want, or you're never kind to me. And anything that's extreme language, like polarized language, it's either all or nothing with them. You're extremely critical, or you never look at me. All of those things are meant to be the extremely polarized language that makes you believe that you're the problem. People who are narcissistic almost always have to have a scapegoat because they don't take personal accountability and responsibility for what they do, for what they believe, for what they think, how they act, any of their behavior at all. Any of their choices, their decisions, nope, somebody else. Somebody else is responsible for it. And their scapegoated person is just, all that means is just their go-to person that they like to make be the shame holder for what they do. So I was going to give an example before, and I said that I've used this example in the past, but I'll use it again today. When I lived in the family home with my husband and our two children, we had a son and a daughter. And from really early on, when they were just children, and I mean like elementary school children, I might be sitting on the sofa on a Saturday morning, and the kids are either having what we used to joke around and call music time for an hour on Saturday mornings. They would put on whatever music they wanted to play, and we had some nice speakers in the living room, and they would get out their instruments, and we had a container full of different types of whistles. And I mean, yeah, there were silly, goofy slide whistles in it, but there were also, there was something called a recorder. We had a couple recorder instruments in there, which is the plastic instrument with the kind of a bell end. And it's kind of slightly shaped like a clarinet sort of instrument, but children play them in elementary school and music class. So we had a couple of those. And we also had something called Fiedo whistles, which are made in Ireland. And some people refer to them as a penny whistle, but they play very similar to a recorder. And we had a few different varieties of those. And we had claves, and we had a tambourine, and we had some bongo drums. And there were guitars in the house, but my children, neither of them played guitar at that time. But you get the idea. There was a whole bunch of different instruments, and the kids would do music time, and we would do that with them. And then, you know, when that, usually it was about an hour. We had about an hour of music time. And I remember just, it was a Saturday. It was really casual. I'm just wearing my sweatshirt, my sweatpants, and my socks. And I'm sitting on the couch, and it was like, you know, midday on a Saturday. And the vibe in the house was great. Everybody was getting along. Everything was happy. Everything was cool. And I'm just sitting there on the sofa and I'm now watching a little bit of television, but really more listening to it because I was working on something that I was knitting. And the kids are just in the room and maybe reading, or my son might have been on his Game Boy or something like that. But my spouse walks into the room and immediately speaks to the children and points to me. He's pointing to my legs because I'm in a chair and my feet are up on the coffee table. And he just says, "Hey kids, look at how close your mother's feet are to her body. Her legs are so short, it's ridiculous." And then the three of them all just start laughing at me. You know, the kids might say, "Yeah, her legs are really short." And he would just say, like, he just wanted the kids and him to be able to laugh at my physicality because I'm not a tall statured person. And he wanted to have somebody else laugh at me with him. So he got the kids to do it. And I never scolded the kids for it or anything like that. But I always thought people who are highly narcissistic have such a thin skin. And if that was done to them, they would be demanding that everybody stop it and never do it again. How dare you mock me? How dare you mock my body, which is something I can't, the length of my legs is something I cannot do anything about. This is what I was, dealt in the gene pool. And I'm quite satisfied with my physical self. I don't look at myself and go, "Oh, damn, why did I have to get such short legs? Boy, am I an awful person because of this." Do that to myself. I embrace the way I'm made and the way I look. And if somebody else is displeased by the way I look, that's their problem. It has nothing to do with me. But to be an adult human being who walks into a room and interrupts what the kids are doing to get them to laugh at their other parent or any other person in the household is just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous thing to be doing. But here's what I recognized as I was doing my trauma recovery work. Going back to those moments and kind of dissecting them and taking them apart on the table. That person wanted other people to join him with what he was doing, which was not okay. It was not by any stretch of the imagination okay to ridicule a person for their body shape, their body size, the length of their limbs, anything, the shape of their head, their face, their teeth, their eyes, whatever. But he would say things like that to the kids for the purpose of humiliating me and teaching them that it's okay to do it. What did he want me to believe about myself? That I'm not enough. I'm just not enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not slender enough. I am not pretty enough. I'm not attractive enough. And what is the point of having children think that about their mother? Because they were just doing their own thing. Their thoughts were not in that area at all. I'm almost certain of it. But why would that parent need the kids to do that? Because there's safety in numbers for a bully. And all narcissistic people are bullies. And it's also for the purpose of sending that message again and again and again and again. You are not enough. You came into the world not enough. Just even the most fundamental thing about you, which is the shape of your body, the length of your limbs, which you can't do much about, but you are not good enough. Meaning the short version of that is you're not enough. You're just simply not enough. He was letting the kids know we would like mom better if she had long legs, if she was a tall person. And that kind of is guiding the kids into a certain realm of belief about their mother, which is, yeah, she's kind of faulty. And we get to mock her. Dad says it's okay that we get to mock her. Yeah. Yeah. Dad encourages mocking mom. And so when I confronted my spouse and said in private, what are you doing here? What are you, WTF, what are you doing here? Encouraging the kids to mock their mother. Because I never, ever would encourage our children or anyone else to mock you. I don't do things like that to people. Why are you doing it to me? And what he had to say every single time I ever confronted about this was, it was all just in good-natured fun. What's the matter with you? Oh my gosh, you're so oversensitive. What is wrong with you, Lynn? You're so oversensitive. Can't you tell when people are just having a joke? When they're just making a joke? And my response was, should anybody really be making a joke at someone else's emotional expense? It does psychological and emotional harm to a person to repeatedly, again and again and again and again. The children and one parent know we mock that person. We're all together here as a group, but we mock that person. So sometimes, oftentimes, I should say, when somebody is very narcissistic and they're bringing other people in on what they're doing to one person, and they are scapegoating, that is absolutely making one person in the family or in the organization or in the congregation or in the neighborhood or whatever, making sure that that person understands that they are marginalized. You're too much and you're never enough is used also for the purpose of marginalizing you, keeping you on the periphery, making you feel that you're pushed out. You might not be pushed out of the household or the congregation or the workplace or the neighborhood or whatever, the family, but you're not going to emotionally feel included. You're going to feel that you're on the emotional periphery in this situation. You're not going to feel welcome. You're not going to feel like you are enough. You're going to start questioning yourselves. What is wrong with me? Did I come into the world faulty, bad, broken, shameful, or malfunctioning? Did I just drop onto the planet as one of the undesirable, never good enough people? Because I got that message all through my childhood. And this leads us to the next concept, which is an abuser knows what happened in your history if you've had a long relationship with them or significantly long relationship with them. And they will leverage prior wounds that they know that you have. It's one of the ways that they attempt to make you feel less than, marginalized, unwelcome, unloved or underloved, worthless, deserving of having anything good withheld from you, being mocked, ridiculed, humiliated, shamed, embarrassed, minimized, manipulated. And every time that they do something like that, where they're involving other people, it is betrayal. They're using the concept of you being too much or not enough as a way to betray you. Going back to that living room on a Saturday morning with two school-age children, like elementary, middle school, or high school age children, the entire time they were growing up, they were exposed to that happening, where dad is bringing them into a situation where we're all going to focus on her and we're going to make her feel inadequate now. And sometimes they would do it. The kids learned to do it because they were taught by the grandparents at a very young age. And then dad was doing it and reinforcing it inside the home as well. Grandparents were doing it at their house, out at restaurants, out at events, other people's houses, family gatherings, and in our home. And then when they see the grandparents and the other grandparent, the aunt and the uncle, some of your siblings, and your own parent, continually giving you the message that you're either too much or you're not enough, what are they going to do? They're going to emulate those behaviors, most likely. So I did get to a point where my children were saying things to me that were making very, very clear, you're the person in our family who doesn't get respect. You are not to be respected. No one respects you. And like my son at around age, I don't know, 21, around there, he started saying things to me like, yeah, I hang out with some people who know you from the dog park. And this is another way, one of the ways they love to tell you you're too much, you're not enough, is through some nebulous person that you don't know. And I'll show you what it sounds like. Yeah, I go places and I hang out with people who take their dogs to the same dog park where you go with our dogs. And they say they can't stand you. They say that you're such a fucking weirdo. Or they say that you are just so long-winded, and they see you, they leave. They don't even want to be near you. They just think you're such a, a freak, or a strange lady, or you just have something wrong with you and people don't like you. When your family member tells you that, that is a really clear example of they're saying you're not enough or you're too much. Either way, it's essentially the same issue, because what it means is you're not what we want you to be. You're not what they want you to be. These nebulous people who I will not name, they just tell it to me when I'm walking into 7-Eleven, or they tell it to me when I'm at a party, or we're sitting around a bonfire in somebody's backyard, or whatever. We spend time together, your name comes up and people, oh yeah, I can't stand her either. She's ridiculous. She talks too much, or she's weird. It's really weird. So I started to be told, we're embarrassed of you. We're embarrassed because you like to sing in public places, and nobody does that. Nobody who's mentally okay sings it out loud in a public place. Yes, if they're an expert professional musician, yes, they do. But just the average person, why are you singing out in public places? My God, I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to be seen with you. That means you're too much. Or you're not enough. You're not a professional musician, so you're not enough. And you're too much because you're doing something that embarrasses me, and I need to pull the reins in on you. And I said in an episode today of Catching Myself Feeling Good, I take my music equipment to parks, and I do music for free. And if people want to stop and listen, they do. And some people will, just dance a little bit, or just keep walking, but wave and smile while they're going by. I've had people come up to me and ask me, can I have your card? I'm like, of course you can. I do this weekends in local parks. If you want to find out where I'm going to be, you can call the number on this card. We're so happy to see you. You can plug your guitar into my amp. If you're a guitar player, bring it. You can play. You can play through my amp. I would love to make music with you. But my family, when they found out that I was doing this, what did they say that I was? Manic. The word manic kept coming up. It is manic. This is mania. You have something wrong with you. You must be bipolar because you're doing way too much. And my question was, where am I supposed to be and what should I be doing? Well, just anything but that. I don't want you singing in public because that proves you're mentally ill. No, it doesn't. There are millions of people who sing in public places. They play instruments in public places. The park that's closest to my house, when I go there on a Saturday in the summertime or on a Sunday in the summertime, I can probably spot 3 different people who are just sitting at a picnic table or under a shelter, and they're just practicing guitar. Some of them are putting on a little bit of a performance for people who are going by. It's beautiful. I would never, ever look at them and say they're attention seeking, they're problematic, they're manic, they're probably bipolar. My family has become hung up on the concept that I am malfunctioning, that I'm mentally ill because I wrote a book and they felt that that was absolutely manic behavior. I didn't write the book in 3 days. I wrote it over the course of a 1.5 years. And they said that that was mania. So I have a mental health professional because all certified trauma recovery coaches are strongly recommended to have a mental health professional so that we don't do what we call bringing our stuff into an appointment with our client. We want to never, ever use our client's time to unpack and unload our stuff. That's their time. It's their time to be supported by the person that they, that they were seeking, so that they could have some assistance and support and recovery from their own trauma. So we go to see our own practitioners so that we can kind of keep it clean in those appointments. And also for just our own general well-being, we need to do that. And when I speak to I've had various different counselors, mental health counselors over the years, mental health clinicians. And when I bring out this bugbear that I can't seem to get to go away, which is my family of origin and my marital family absolutely believe, because I'm the scapegoated person in the family. Remember that. I'm the person who's designated as the shame holder for what other people do. And when they told me again and again that I am manic and I'm exhibiting symptoms that they're very concerned about, I must be bipolar because I sing in public and I wrote a book and I went to school and I started culling, like culling, culling relationships, or some people call it weeding their garden, okay, of unhealthy relationships. Take them out. Anything that does not serve your well-being or something that actually contributes to your unwellness. We have autonomy and we can choose what relationships we want to have. And when I was choosing not to have relationships with people who were making me be the shame holder for their behavior, or being the receptacle for their disapproval, or for their criticism, or for them telling me repeatedly, you're either too much or you're never enough, then they decided that right there is mental illness. Autonomy is the biggest sign of mental illness. And no, it is not. No, it is not. But people who have no background in mental health whatsoever will very, very clearly, if they're highly narcissistic, they will tell you what your diagnosis is. And then they'll tell you that you better do something about it to make yourself bearable so they can stand to be with you. Because you're what? Never enough, or you're too much. And sometimes they want you to believe both at the same time. You're over functioning, therefore you must be manic. Well, who decides what over functioning is? The person who has zero background in mental health, or the counselor that I go to who holds a master's degree in mental health counseling? Because every single time I'm going to go with the counselor who has a master's degree over the person who either, has never taken a psychology course in their life, or has absolutely no credentials or background in mental health or behavioral science whatsoever, but they really, really like to talk out their what. And for what purpose? It's power and control. It's always, always, always about power and control. They do it for two reasons: because they want to, and because they feel entitled to. And the thing that they're trying to obtain through these behaviors is control over you, control over me, control over whoever is their scapegoated person or the shame holder in the family, where they can just be the dumping receptacle for everybody else's shame. Gets just poured onto and into this designated person that we call the scapegoat. So what can we do about this? Well, first of all, there's an endless supply of resources online with practitioners who are experts in helping people understand that, yes, you absolutely are enough. My work focuses on letting people know that you are not faulty, bad, broken, shameful, or malfunctioning. I will say that in a huge number of my videos if you watch them. No, you are not faulty, bad, broken, shameful, or malfunctioning. No, not a chance. Then why is that person doing that? If that is true, how do we reconcile that? How do I get from feeling this way because of everything that these people say to me, say about me, and dump all over me and into me with their comments of that I'm never enough or I'm too much? How do I get from the person who's dealing with that all the time to over here where I want to be, where I'm a person with confidence, and I'm a person with a good self-esteem and a healthy worldview, a person who feels capable, a person who feels lifted up and edified, a person who feels strong, a person who has really strong convictions about what they believe and what they believe are true, how they see the world, how they see things like creator, how they see themselves, how they see their environment, how they see their relationships and the people that they're in relationship with. How do I get from the horrible feeling over here to that person that I may have been a long time ago before I started experiencing all of this verbal, emotional, psychological, physical, sexual, financial, spiritual abuse? What did I used to be like before I was exposed to all of this? Or if you're like me and you came into the world and it was already, the system's already in place, and it was just all of a sudden, as your life goes on, you're noticing more and more and more and more and more that you're it. You're the person that they decided was the problem. Sometimes, like in the case of my family, what they might do is project it onto one person so they don't have to understand, look at, or accept that one or both parents are in addiction, or that one or both parents or the primary caregiver that's in the household, the adult in the household, is an abuser. These are hard things for people to look at. And they will go to great lengths to never, ever, ever focus on those things. So sometimes that can be the catalyst for a person becoming a scapegoated person in the family. So the scapegoated person is the person who holds the role of always too much or never enough. And it's harmful, it's abusive, it is absolutely traumatizing, highly, highly traumatic to be shoved into or eased into the role of family scapegoat, who is always never enough or too much. So we start with small steps, and listening to a person like Marissa Peer. She's the person in the world who started something called the I Am Enough campaign, the I Am Enough project. And if you go to her YouTube channel, as I've said multiple times in other videos, go to Marissa Peer, it's Marissa Peer. Go to her YouTube channel and sift through for the ones that are the I Am Enough videos. You can listen to them. You don't have to watch them. Listening will be enough, but watching and listening is great too. But it's life-changing. We can start by listening to 3 weeks, okay, 21 nights of when we go to bed, just fall asleep listening to one of her I Am Enough videos, okay? It will change, so we can make new neural pathways in the brain. Our brain, as a certified trauma recovery coach, I was taught again and again and again, the human brain learns by repetition. We knew that in elementary school. We didn't learn all of the alphabet in one day. We didn't learn all of the math on another day. We learned through repetition. And so when we get retold a new story from a new voice, from a new person, and we cancel out the disapproval, the rejection, the painful, shaming, humiliating, eviscerating comments from the people that we're used to listening to, who tell us that we're not enough or we're too much, when they're scapegoating us, we can shut some of that out and replace it with something that is the truth. And when you listen to someone who's speaking to you from their heart and from their soul, and they're telling you you are enough and that those people lied to you, after a while, after listening to it just for 3 weeks, it gets in. And when it begins to get in, everything changes. Everything about how we function, how we eat, how we bathe, how we do our hair, how we get dressed, how we drive the car, how we prepare for our day, how we show up at work, how we show up in our community, how we show up in our relationships changes. We get our strength back. We get our will to live fully back. We get our joy back. We get our self-esteem back. We get a healthier worldview. And then we start to feel creative. We start to feel compassion for ourselves. We might start to feel more compassion for other people, but hopefully not for the abusers. For me, it just felt like a wasted effort to feel compassion for a person who harms me. It felt like I was drinking poison. So I stopped, but it's such a personal choice and you have full autonomy. And if it feels right to you to feel compassion for your abuser, then that's what you do. But for me personally, it feels really awful. I want no part of that. But I do use the compassion on myself. I lavish compassion on myself. And I say, this was not your fault. You did not come into the world faulty, bad, broken, shameful, or malfunctioning. You are enough. And you are not too much. You're lovable. You're compassionate. You're kind. You're empathetic. You are creative. You are curious. You are considerate. You are a person who is extremely devoted to the people that you care about. And I have a conscience. I am in touch with my conscience at all times, every day. I am able to feel and express remorse for what I say and what I do. And I'm able to say that I love knowing that I wouldn't purposely harm another. I would not purposely set out to cause misery for or to harm another human being. Don't do it. I just simply don't, and I won't. It's part of my constitution. It's part of who I am. So I can separate myself from a person who is an abuser by saying, what are my qualities? I'm going to be totally truthful. I might even write them out. What are my qualities that I'm proud of? What are my qualities that tell people who is the real me? If I was going to introduce someone to me without them ever seeing me or being in the same space with me, but I was going to tell them about me, what would I say? Would I say that my legs are too short and I deserve to be laughed at? Or would I say that I really love helping people? I'm a good listener. I can keep confidentiality really well. And I care deeply about what other people think, what they feel, and what they believe. And that I don't harm people as a way of trying to feel better from my own wounds that happened in childhood and adolescence and young adulthood and even recent adulthood. I don't try to get healing for my injuries through harming other people, because A, it's useless. It helps nothing. And all it does is create new wounds. And when I wound somebody else, I've actually wounded myself as well. Because now I have to live with what I've done, and that causes me pain inside. So to harm another person, to wound another person, is actually me harming two people. And it does not feel good to me. So recognizing who and what I am is really important and part of my recovery. And then taking the time to spend with myself, asking myself, what do you need today? If somebody could give you what you need today, what do you need? What is your biggest need in this moment? It could be anything. But whatever it is, when I have awareness of what that need is, then I can say to myself, then I will do everything within my power to help you to have that today, or to feel that today, or to experience that today, or to purchase that today, or to begin to save up for that thing that you need today. And if you want to listen to something today, great, then I'll listen to it. If you want to write down something today, if that will help you feel better, then we'll write it. But I'm listening to myself. I'm communicating with myself. I am showing up for myself. I'm partnering with myself. And that's where the biggest healing comes from for me, is to be fully self-partnered and to bring myself into absolute clarity on this. A very clear understanding is that the person who told me, or the individuals who told me that I was not enough or I'm too much, that I'm faulty, bad, broken, shameful, malfunctioning, and just plain unbearable, awful, and I'm a terrible person, they were wrong. They were talking out their you know what, and they were wrong. And they truly wanted to hurt me. That is just the claws coming out. That's just somebody wanting to tear you apart. Do we keep going back to a person who does that? If we take the time to attempt to speak with them and tell them how this makes us feel, and they laugh at us, or they humiliate us, or they just do more of the same garbage that they've been doing, which is, oh, you're so sensitive. You're such a giant baby. You're never happy. Man, all you do is focus on the negative. I can't tell you how many times I heard that one. You are such a negative person. All you ever do is focus on what's wrong rather than what's right. An abuser loves to gaslight us with that so that they don't have to face the fact that their abuse is corrupting this person on the inside, me, you, or whoever they're doing it to. They will just stand there and tell you, well, the problem is the way you process this. It's not anything I've done. Nope. You have something wrong with your feelings. You have something wrong with your mind. You have something wrong with your body. You have something wrong with all of that. You have something wrong with the way you exist. But it's never, ever, ever my behavior that's the problem. So when we recognize that an abusing abuser who abuses, a lying liar who lies, an insulting insulter who insults, a betraying betrayer who betrays, we can distance, we can weed the garden. Don't have to go full no contact. I'm not advocating for anybody to go full no contact if they don't want to. But we can be very, very, very autonomous and choose for ourselves what we want to engage in and what we do not. What we want to embrace and what we want to turn our back on. And then when we know that we get empowered and we feel more loving, we feel more connected, we feel more compassionate, we feel more empathetic, we feel more involved in our own life, we feel that the good stuff is coming towards us and that we're worthy of the good stuff, then everything gets better. This has been a really good discussion today. I appreciate you being here with me for yet another episode of Monogamous at 13. And if you're interested, well, first of all, before I get into that, I just want to say, if you liked this video, please hit the like button. Please do that. That will be so great. If you hit the like button for my video, it will help me to be seen and recognized in the YouTube algorithm. Same thing with liking, not just liking, but sharing, putting comments in the comment section, posting it, reposting it on a blog or on your Facebook page or on Instagram, whatever, anywhere that you hang out, please share it with your friends. And the more messages of trauma recovery get out to people, the more the trauma and abuse community feels that they are seen and heard and that they have resources that are readily available to them for their wellness and recovery. So if you could do that, I sure would appreciate it. If you're interested in becoming a client for certified trauma recovery coaching, I am accepting new clients. And I work one-on-one with individuals age 18 and older. And I cannot work with minors. I cannot work with groups or couples, but just simply one-on-one. And I would absolutely love to be side by side as a co-equal partner on your trauma recovery journey. And you can contact me through my website, which is linbouthillier.com. You can send me an email, lin@linbouthillier.com, or you can leave me a message on my phone, and it's 716-994-3052. If you leave me a message in my voicemail, I usually call people back within 48 hours. If you don't hear from me after 48 hours, please call again, okay? It's unusual for that to happen, but it could. So I just want to let you know, if you don't get through to me on the first try or get a response within 48 hours, try again, okay? I look forward to hearing from you. So I hope all of you have the very best day. Please remember that self-care is never, ever selfish. It is essential to well-being, and that you are infinitely worthy of your own trauma recovery. See you next time. Bye.